Walz recently, who has so much joy that when he enters the stage, he can barely contain it. Man looks like he's pretty much going to poop himself with joy and excitement every time he runs onto the stage. It's like this combination of Richard Simmons and Chris Farley just running through the audience, and it's so obnoxious. But this is him making the very random claim about President Trump wanting to create child labor. And I believe he's implying that that is in Project 2025 as well. And since we do have somebody on that is watching the live stream right now who is apparently an expert in Project 2025, I'm sure they will confirm that that is in here. So let's have a look at that really quick.
Somebody said, what's next? Child labor? Hell yeah, it's in there. That's what they've got in there. You see states doing that, putting our children at risk. That's what they'll do.
I have to admit, I thought that that was a very, very random claim to make. Very kind of off the cuff. I mean, we get accused of all sorts of things. Trump, of course, is repeatedly accused of wanting to be a dictatorship, even though everything on his record as a president when he was in the White House for 4 years demonstrated exactly the opposite of that. But wanting to create child labor, I thought was a very, very random idea. And it came to my mind always. What Democrats accuse Republicans of wanting are exactly the things that they are guilty of. And so whenever they make a claim, as random as it might be, guaranteed if you do a little bit of digging, it doesn't take a lot, do a little bit of digging, and you are going to find that exact thing on their record. So let me show you exactly what I mean by that. This is probably going to infuriate you a little bit. So be sure if you take blood pressure medication to just take a little bit of a dose of that, or if you do some deep breathing, you might need to do that as well. So this is a video put together by an account on Twitter called Muckraker. It says, young children working full-time, story of child kidnapped from Times Square in broad daylight. This post says, as you watch this, small illegal alien children are being put to work full-time in Times Square. We spoke to some child workers and heard their stories. One told us that he witnessed a child being kidnapped from Times Square in broad daylight. Another shared his experience of seeing children drown while crossing the Darien Gap en route to the United States and expressed his desire to return home to Ecuador. The Biden administration and the United Nations have encouraged hundreds of thousands of children to risk their lives trekking to the United States. This is the fate that awaits many once they arrive. So let's listen to just a little bit. But as Tim Walz is accusing the Trump administration and of Republicans in general of just wanting child labor, we can do a little bit of digging and find that this is exactly what is happening because of their policies.
¿Y de qué país?
De Colombia.
De Colombia. ¿Y cuántos años tienes tú?
11.
¿Y cuántos meses en Estados Unidos?
Un mes.
Un mes.
Pero veniste aquí para trabajar, ¿verdad?
Sí, claro, y para estudiar, para conseguir un futuro. Porque es que allá en Colombia hubo un caso muy malo que pasó con mi papá y mi hermana.
¿Dijiste los años de los niños que andan acá afuera?
De 8, de 11, de 14.
Trabajando acá afuera.
Ajá. Esto que se han robado y entonces tenemos que cuidarnos. Aquel día a una señora la robaron.
Okay, so just in case you can't, if the screen is too small and you can't see what he is saying, I'm just going to play it on mute. He's from Colombia. He asks, how old are you? He says 11. How many months are in the US? He says a month. I've been here about a month. You came here to work, right? Yes, of course, to study, to build a future. And then he was asked, or he says, because back in Colombia, there was a very bad situation that happened with my dad and mom. Oh. Can you repeat the ages of the kids out here? 8, 11, and 14. Working out here? Uh-huh. There's been robberies, so we have to be careful. One day a lady got robbed and they took her kid and never, they took the kid? Where? They took him in a van. They just took one kid. And he says, be very careful, okay? Don't let that happen. This kid talked about how on his way here, he saw a lot of dead bodies along the trail and the tents and the trees, all that. They were dead and corpses. Did you see children taken away in the jungle? Yes. So those are the horrors of the things that children are seeing along the way. And then he's talking about living here. Some children live in hotels. Some children live on the streets. We know who they are. Can you tell us where we can see them? I really don't know. They just pass by begging. That's all. So this is happening in Times Square in New York, where these kids who were encouraged to come here, whether they were brought here with their parents or not, it sounds like some of them were not, likely brought here by traffickers, likely brought here by people that just had the worst intentions, saw some of the most horrifying things that some of us probably could never imagine witnessing. And I'm actually struggling to just keep it together right now because I have an 8-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 13-year-old. And I just, as children, their innocence means so much to me. It is just my life to protect them. And to protect them from things that they should not have to deal with as children and that even as adults we would struggle with. And so I can't even imagine them seeing some of the things that this little boy is describing right here. It actually just really, really breaks my heart. But these kids are working full-time in Times Square. They have to be careful to not get kidnapped, to not get taken away. They've already endured so much. And then when they get here, I don't know how you square this with this lie that these people are trying to come here and live the American dream, or being told that if they do come here that they are going to have this wonderful life, when that is the opposite of what is happening. Everything that they see along the way is just unimaginable. And then when they get here, they have to be just as careful, if not more careful, because it's not any safer for them on these streets. So when Tim Walz again accuses Republicans of wanting child labor, this is something that is actually happening right now, because we haven't been able to make sure that these kids are actually coming here with people that they are related to, that love here, that love them. We can't make sure that they are, whoever their contact is in the United States is actually a safe family that they are supposed to go to. They are just released to whatever contact information they have written on their arm, whatever contact information that they have, pinned to their body. That is the person that they are released to, and likely not somebody that is even safe. And right now they are just struggling to survive if they happen to be one of the lucky ones that made it here safely. So this is just absolutely, absolutely horrifying. Like I said, I don't know if you guys you probably don't know me that well. I am not an emotional person. My husband will attest to that. But stuff like this really gets to me, It is just unfathomable that these kids would have to go through this. And I know that under the Trump administration, the Democrats constantly accused Trump of separating kids from their families and putting them in cages, which were actually built by the Obama administration. But the process of separating kids from the adults that they come with when they come to the border is just another security measure for them to make sure that who they are coming with are actually their loving family members. That's just one of the parts of the legal immigration process, to make sure that they are with their family members. They are actually with people that are going to take care of them. And what is happening now are these kids are traveling with people that they're not related to. So they were separated from their families long before they even started on this journey. And if they are lucky enough to survive, when they get here, they are essentially on their own, or they're being trafficked or used in any number of ways by people that are just horrific. So that is what, another mark on the Biden-Harris administration, and will be carried over in the Harris-Walz administration. no matter how many times they try to sell us joy and humanity.